What is the point? Nobody chooses to be born. Nobody chooses consciousness. We just are here and it keeps on going. When I go to bed, hopefully, I'll wake up again tomorrow. So, what do we do with our time here? I had a conversation with one of the guys that I'm working with, and he identified something about himself that I know I have felt and identified in myself many times. This subtle self-sabotage of skill acquisition. You start building a skill, you have a process, you got a routine that works for you, that levels you up. And then you make sufficient progress and you're like, I don't need that routine anymore. I think I'm good. I think I got it. I think I can stop doing the thing that got me this result. And I'll just keep on moving at this rate of progress without that. Of course, this does not work. I know this from myself in singing, in sales, in fitness. His was in leveling up his voice, speaking voice, and confidence in his communication. And as I thought about what alleviates that self-sabotaging pattern in myself, I shared it with him. It made me think of this bigger life question. What I shared with him was, the antidote for that is to just love the work itself. The man who loves walking is going to walk much more than the guy who is walking just to get to a destination. But it made me think about this whole idea of what are we doing with this time on earth? Zoom out a little bit more from that idea of, okay, I guess I've made progress. I can just stop doing the thing now that led me to that progress. I thought about the idea of retirement, which everyone in the Western world is conditioned, at least in the United States, is conditioned to believe like that's the goal. That's the whole point of working, of this 9 to 5 framework, is that one day I'll be able to retire. Okay, so retire and then what? You're just going to die? What are you going to fill your days up with if not going to sit in your cubicle underneath your fluorescent lights and type some emails or get the report into the boss? What are you going to do? You're going to go to the beach? You're going to golf? You're going to party? You're going to lay around and do nothing? I think most people don't really consider that. What would you fill your time up with if you could be retired? That is how you should be living. The point of life, what we are supposed to do here on this earth, is to create the person that you admire and then offer them to the world. I believe this. I did not invent that or come up with that. That has been beaten into my brain from one of my main mentors, Wes Watson. Go check him out. And I agree with it. It's such a powerful statement. There's so much truth there that you hear it and you're like, there's no arguing with that. But what about the other people who are also on that same path? What do you do with them? Because for me, when I think about what do I want most right now, what I want most is I seek connection. I've always sought connection. I've always had connection, but now I am aware of my desire for it. That so many of my actions, my behaviors, mindsets have this desire for connection at the core. It's what drives them. So, part one is you create this person that you admire, offer that person to the world. Part two, with these other people, do dope shit with dope people. What is dope people? Dope people are people that make you feel like anything is possible, like you can do anything. Do dope shit with them. What is dope shit? It is just creating. In another conversation that I had today with another one of my guys that I'm working with, towards the end of our session, he was like, man, I feel better. I feel better. His state had changed. But during this session, we also ripped a couple of pieces of content for him, right? So we're working on the voice, we're working on communication, we're working on how his voice sounds, what he's able to do with it, how spontaneous he's able to be, but then also, and how authentic he's able to be inside of that spontaneity. That's the end goal, right? Is that you are able to be spontaneous and authentic and use all of the expressive colors inside of your instrument without thinking, oh, I want to sound like this. I want to sound like this. Nope. If the moment calls for that, then that's what happens. That's what happens. And then we're also working on identifying stories from his life, anecdotes from his personal life, from his life as a husband, from his life as a father, as a grandfather, and as a businessman and business owner, and then tying those up to the principles that he lives his life with. So as we are blending these concepts, and he's, just ripping content on this call, he's like, yeah, I feel better. Well, part of the reason that he feels better is because when you use your voice in a certain way, it calms you, stimulates the vagus nerve. Same thing as breathing through your nose, right? So his state changed through this act of using his voice in this way, but the greater driver for that change is the fact that he was creating. So you create the person that you admire, give them to the world. You do dope shit with dope people. And dope shit is creating. We feel better when we create because creating expresses us, and it also is an invitation to connect. Invitation to others to connect. I just moved to New York City, notorious for being kind of a tough place to live psychologically. I've had a lot of friends move here, and they all say the same thing. The city beats you down. Now I am a week and a half into living here, and I like to consider myself as having a somewhat abnormal constitution when it comes to being susceptible to things like getting beaten down. But I definitely see how a person could feel lonely here. I don't know if I feel lonely. But in exploring whether or not I do, I've come back again to this thought that it is creation that is an antidote for loneliness. Creation solves a lot of anxieties. Action is what relieves most anxiety. And creation is one of the core callings of a human being, like consciousness. Unless we are sedating, it's not something that we can turn off. we sedate to turn off consciousness. And when you are receiving signals, signs, downloads from the universe, from higher consciousness, the thing that you have to do with them is you have to create. You have to do something with those messages that you receive, with those callings that you receive. Not doing something with them leads to soul constipation. You got to get them out. So you have to create. And that's that invitation for dope people who make you feel like you can do anything to come in and support you, to come in and say, yep, I feel that. And then along the way, you are continuously creating this person who you admire. So that's what we do with our time here that we didn't choose, that we have to make the most of. We have to make the best out of it. We make the best out of it by creating this person, by creating whatever it is that we feel called to create, and then by connecting with people who make us feel like we should create more, we should create bigger, we should create together. And so I felt called to explore those ideas, create this video, and go to sleep, to wake up and do it again tomorrow.